Like he was singing about what I was living, you know, and I was really drawn to it, and I wanted to go see him sing. And so we went to see him sing, and he was singing about the way I was living, and the way he was singing about that life didn't sound as rideless and homeless. It sounded free-ish, you know? In fact, I noticed as I was watching him that the difference between a free loader and a free spirit, about 3 chords on the guitar. So I went and I got one, and I started following him around at his shows, and I would watch, and I learned to play the guitar from watching him play. He sang Mr. Bojangles. He wrote it. He went to jail one night in New Orleans, and he came out with that, of all the things you could come out of jail with, right? And so I would go to all his shows, and I would write letters that I was going to give him, and I wouldn't give them to him. Or I'd have these speeches planned, and I'd wait around to meet him. I wanted him to know that I felt connected to him, almost like his son or something. And I went to all these shows and never gave him any of this shit, you know. So then one time, I get down to, I was living in Texas, and then this girl broke up with me, and so I moved to Memphis. And when I got to Memphis, I was doing sort of like this Jerry Jeff Walker thing. And then all of a sudden, I see in the paper that he was coming to town. So I asked the guy if I can come, I asked the owner of the club that I knew if I could come see the show. He said I could open the fucking show. And so I knew in that moment that this was my chance, and I was going to get to meet my hero, you know. And so I made up this speech that started with, it was kind of a rap thing. And it started with, this is the highlight of my life. That was the beginning of my speech, because I was getting to meet him. And so I remember I went down to the gig, and I did my bit, came off stage, I go back into the dressing room, and there he is, 5 feet from me, he can't get away from me. And I have my speech ready for him. Except for there's this chick there next to him, and she seems like she's mad at him, and she's yelling at him, and he seems afraid of her. So I didn't say anything to her, and then it occurred to me that she had snuck back there, and he didn't know her. And just as it was occurring to me that he didn't know her, she turned to me and she said, "Oh, you sang too. Here, sign my poster. Jerry Jeff, turn around." Which is, by the way, that's exactly what she sounded like. I worked on it. But she said, turn around to him. So he turns around and she puts this poster on his back and hands me this pen to sign this poster. And then all the times that I had imagined what it was going to be like to meet my hero, this drunk bitch from Memphis was in none of the scenarios. Not even in a small role. And here she was, dominating this moment that I had been planning my whole life. And so I just instinctively did what she said and went into my fucking speech, which was stupid because I said this was the highlight of my life. And without missing the beat, my hero says, "Pretty boring life so far, kid." And I took it personally, you know, and I started trying to like live a little faster, you know. And then I got my own record contract, and I got a manager, and I told my manager that if he could ever get me a show near Jerry Jeff again, that I would love another chance to meet him, and hopefully he wouldn't remember the first time, right? So I get this gig at this festival, and I see him backstage. I run up and I just squeeze him, and I say, "You're like a king to me." And he looks at me like I'm that chick from Memphis, right? So I'm like, no, I'm singing too. And then it kind of occurred to me that didn't mean I could just squeeze some guy. You can't just squeeze another guy that's singing. But I told him that I knew everything about him, and he said, "I doubt that." But this is the truth. We ended up, you know, becoming friends that night, and hand to God, 3 or 4 times in my life, I have beat him at Jerry Jeff Walker trivia contest. One of my favorite parts of being on the road is when he'll call me in my room because he's got some song of his that he wants to play that night, and he can't remember the words, but he knows I know the words. And then he's got this weird sense of humor too. One time he told me he was going to take me snorkeling. We planned this for a really long time. He was going to take me snorkeling in Belize, and when I got down there, he said he'd show me how to do it, and the coral reef was going to blow my mind. So we get in this boat, we row out, he says some this guy, we go out into this area, he tells me how to do it, I flop into the back of the boat, I open my eyes, and there's like, when I say a lot of sharks, I don't mean a few, I mean like a fuck ton of sharks, everywhere, like a movie, like a nightmare. And below me was like those stingray things. Fucking everywhere was these stingray things. And I'm panicking, so I jump up out of the water, and I'm screaming, and Jerry Jeff Walker's laughing his ass off. It's the funniest thing he's ever seen in his life. He'd been planning this fucking thing for months. And so, this is his idea of humor. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something about him now. So back in the day, could you see if that my car? Could you go check my car? You know? Yeah.
Keep looking for it.
Anyway, so back in the early days when I first started touring, you know, I would carry this tackle box that had all my drugs in it, you know? Because when you're a musician, people give you drugs, and you can't be rude, and you can't take them all at the same time. Hence, I would have this tackle box that I would keep the leftovers in. And also, there's stuff I don't even like, but I might run into somebody later that had it. I'd keep it all in this one box. And Jerry Jeff loved that tackle box. And when he would come to my shows, he would say, "Where's that tackle box, boy?" And so one night we were in New Orleans, and my generation, we never did cocaine, we weren't into it. But his generation did miles of it. And they used to call him Jiffy Jack Snowdrift, right? And so one night in New Orleans, right as we were coming off the stage, this guy hands me a ton of cocaine. I'd go up in the dressing room, I'd throw it in the tackle box. And a little bit later, he comes back up the stairs, he goes, "Where's that tackle box, boy?" And he opens it up and goes, "Oh, shit." He goes, "Man, I used to come down here and roar on this shit in the 70s, man." And so I immediately just turned into a shit friend. And I was like, "Well, then we gotta do that, man." But like I was saying, I don't really know how to do that one. And so we went over to his house to do it, and I did just a little bit of it. And then you know how when you catch a fish and you throw it on the boat and it starts flipping around real fucked up? I started doing that on this coffee table. And so then he takes me in the shower and they put me to bed and all that. And in those days too, like I wake up in the middle of the night, and all I realized when I first woke up was that I wasn't in a hotel, you know. And that wasn't that big of a deal in those days. I thought, I could figure that out. Then, as I was trying to figure out where I was, I could hear these feet stomping, you know. Like that, you know. And I thought, oh fuck, I'm not even alone. And then I hear this voice say, "Never again, boy, never again." And then it all came flooding back to me in this wave of humiliation. And then I just pretended to be asleep so that I wouldn't have to deal with him. So he kicks the bed and he says, "Did you hear what I said, boy?" I said, "Never fucking again." And I looked up. There was this thing, I should have told you this about the story. He doesn't wear any clothes to bed. And he woke up so mad at me that he didn't even adorn himself before he started pacing back and forth and saying, "Never again." So when he stopped at the foot of the sofa and stomped, and I woke up and I opened my eyes, you know, I'm not gonna tell you what I saw, but I'll tell you this, I don't have a cocaine problem because when people offer it to me, I picture Jerry Jeff Walker's balls. It's a one-step program. I probably just saved a life. But you know, now I feel like I gotta tell this part of it. Now I'm sorry, to make a short story so fucking long. About 3 years ago, he called me up and asked me if I wanted to go with him to Santa Fe. And so I said, shit, yeah. We didn't even go to play, we were just going there to fuck around. And they have this little square in the middle of town, and we bar hopped all day into the night. And it was about 2 in the morning, we were in the last bar open. And the bartender was like, you guys gotta go. So we go out of the bar, hand to God this happened. We start walking back to the hotel. There's no one on the street. There's no cops on the street. There's nothing open. Nobody walking around. No birds, no fucking nothing. Just me and old Jerry Jeff Walker walking back to the hotel. And I swear to you, in the distance, you hear this. And I was like, do you hear that? Yeah. You do hear that. So we start moving towards the music, which was towards the hotel. We turn the corner, and standing in front of this blues bar that is closed on the street with nobody on it, with his hat on the ground, with a guitar, singing for all the right reasons that anybody could ever possibly be singing a song. Just in the middle of the night for the sake of it. And he's just to the moon. He is singing this old song. And around the corner is coming the guy who wrote it 40 years ago. And I'm the only other guy. And we walk over there and we start listening to this guy sing Jerry Jeff's song. And I could tell he was getting choked up, and I was getting choked up. And I thought, I can't wait to tell this guy that this guy wrote this song. And then I thought, you know, that's not really my place. I'm lucky I'm even getting to see this. So I decided that I'm not gonna say shit. And when the song gets over, Jerry Jeff takes everything he has, keys, everything, throws it in this guy's head, and says, pretty good song, isn't it? And the guy says, yeah. And he goes, yeah. And we walk on. And I remember as we were walking back to the hotel, saying to Jerry Jeff, that might have been the highlight of my life. And he remembered. And he said, well, that one was pretty good. Since it's my birthday, I know that everybody has sang this. But I'm gonna leave you with it. It's my favorite one, and I go like it. Little man, Bojangles and he danced for you. Worn-out shoes, silver hair, ragged shirt and baggy pants. Did the old soft shoe. He jumped up so high, Lord, he jumped up high, and then he lightly touched down. Mr. Bojangles, oh, Mr. Bojangles, oh, Mr. Bojangles, come on down. I met a man that said I knew old angel night. I was down and out. He looked to me to be about the eyes of age as he spoke right out. He talked of his life, the Lord, he talked of life, threw back his clothes all around. He said his name, Bojangles, and he danced the lick. left his leg instead. And Mr. Bojangles, hey now Mr. Bojangles, hey now Mr. Bojangles, you come on in. Minstrel shows and county fairs throughout the South. He spoke in tears of 15 years how his dog and him they traveled around till the dog up and died, loaded up and died. For 20 years he grieved. Without dances transit the honky tonk for drinks and tips. Says the most of the time though I spend behind these county bars for drinks and beer. He shake his head and then he shake his head. I heard someone ask him please. Thank you so much. Don't forget. I knew a man, Bojangles, and he danced for you.